Toronto Raptors young sensation Scottie Barnes is heading into his 4th season, but where does he stack up amongst the NBA's best small forwards? And is he already in the top 10? Let's get into it. It was an extraordinarily impressive season for Scottie Barnes in his 3rd year in the NBA as a 22-year-old, now 23, claimed NBA All-Star honors. And he's the first player out of his draft class, and a pretty loaded draft class at that, to achieve such a feat. But now, going into his 4th NBA season, and now having already signed a rookie max extension worth over $220 million with the potential to raise up to $270 million, we now need to consider Scottie Barnes amongst some of the NBA's best players, particularly in his position. Now, likely, Scottie Barnes will be starting as the technical power forward for the Raptors this season, but it's tough to really lay down specific positions for the players, especially in the modern NBA, especially for players who play in the 4 positions and players who play on the wings in general. Scottie Barnes is a small forward, and that's where he really is operating at his best, even if he has to accommodate for his teammates and sometimes play as a power forward. So for the purposes of the list that we're going to be going through in today's video and the purposes of the ranking that we're going to be doing, we're going to be considering Scottie Barnes as a small forward and stacking him up to the NBA's best in this position, because Barnes is about to be getting paid like the best, so he's going to have to start showing himself as one of the best on the floor as well. And for small forwards, I always say forwards really win championships. Like the bread and butter of teams, the top guy for teams has typically been the small forward. That's been the case for the last 20 or so years, barring some exceptions like Steph Curry. So you have some really talented players here. And this video was a little bit in reaction to a Hoops Hype article that showcased the top 30 small forwards in the NBA, Scottie Barnes being one of the players on the list. So the list goes as such. Understandably so, it has Jason Tatum as the #1 small forward in the NBA. It has Kevin Durant as #2. Then it has LeBron James at 3, Kawhi Leonard at 4, Paul George at 5, Jimmy Butler at 6, and then it's our boy Scottie Barnes pegged in the 7th position on the list. So over the course of the video, we'll be discussing if this is an accurate position for Scottie Barnes. Is he too high? Is he too low? We're going to talk about it today on Amateur Sports, the YouTube channel completely dedicated to Toronto Raptors content and videos just like this. Drop a like if you enjoy, subscribe for more content just like it. As you can see, I'm still in my parents' house. I'll be back in my own apartment in about a week and a half, so bear with me for this setup for now, but just listen to the sound of my voice for the video if it's too distracting, how bad it is back here. But Barnes, yes, pegged in this position after his 3rd season in the NBA, where he put up, again, really good numbers. Very, very close to averaging 20 points per game, and perhaps if he had played in the later stage of the season and didn't suffer a hand injury, he could have done it. But nonetheless, right around 20 points per game, over 8 rebounds per game, over 6 assists per game on 47.5% shooting from the field, and above 34% shooting from 3. That gave him an effective field goal percentage of just under 53%. Not bad, but something I certainly want to see increase for this season. And if we see that increase, can he get himself even higher on the list? Even despite this, #7 on the list seems fantastic for a player of Barnes' ability. And when you look at the players ahead of him, you're talking about some of the NBA's best and some of the players who have been some of the NBA's best for a number of years. So the fact that he's really launched himself into this position is great to see. And you consider some of the names lower than him on this list, like DeMar DeRozan is lower than him. Brandon Ingram is lower than him. Franz Wagner, fellow 2021 draftee, is lower than him on this list. It's great to see Barnes getting acclaim from some media sources suggesting that he is really one of the top players in this position in the NBA. Honestly, as far as the list is concerned, I think it does make sense. But what doesn't make sense to me is that it makes sense to me. Usually when you read articles like this, especially from American media outlets, there just isn't that much respect that goes towards Toronto Raptors players, yet we absolutely see it here with Scottie Barnes. But now what I want to focus on for the rest of the video is what is Scottie Barnes going to have to do to get himself even higher on the list for next season? Well, I think for starters, we need to have a bit of a further discussion about the efficiency for the player. What I really like about Barnes is that he's taking on more threes and did so pretty efficiently last season, shooting above 34%. Now, admittedly, he started the season red hot from 3, was shooting above 36% for a while. That cooled down as the season went on, but nonetheless, this is a player who went from shooting 28% from 3 in the NBA to 34%. And it seems like it's full steam ahead on the development train. But I'm pretty comfortable, like, with Scottie Barnes, who came into the league as this supposed non-shooter. I'm pretty comfortable if Barnes just even maintains that level from three. Where I really want to see an elevated level of efficiency is just in the field goal percentage in general, more specifically on 2-point field goals. I don't need to see that coming from mid-range. I think that there's plenty of scoring around Scottie Barnes on this roster and a potential to add more scoring power on this roster around Scottie Barnes. Where that efficiency is going to come is his finishing at the rim. I want him to be an absolutely dominant interior presence on both ends of the floor, but particularly on the offensive end. I want to see a bit more craftiness at the rim. I want to see a little bit more of a focus from Darko Rajakovic, Raptors head coach, in giving Scottie Barnes his sets in post-up opportunities to really hone in on that craft, because as much as this is amazing for third season, like we're talking about him being amongst the NBA's best now, and he's about to get paid like it in a year's time, I want to see that efficiency fine-tuned. And I absolutely believe that Scottie Barnes has the ability to develop in that area and be amazing in that area this season and continue to push his career forward. Every time he's been tasked with developing some sort of skill since he's come into the league, he has answered the billing. And if he's not quite fully answered the billing, he's at least showing signs of improvement in those areas and that he's on the right pathway and on the right track to getting to very good levels in the NBA. As far as Scottie Barnes, he really is just the complete package of an NBA player. And I talked about it in a video last week when it comes to his ceiling. Like, there's just no skill that I see in his game that at least isn't somewhat there presently to work on as a foundation, but there's no tool in his bag that I can really put his ceiling on. He has continuously just gotten better and better, already blowing away expectations set for him going into his first season, that it's just tough to try and figure out exactly what the cap is on this player. He seems like a player who is putting in the work behind the scenes, constantly trying to better himself, and now that he is the lead player for this team, we are really going to get the full showcase of the Scottie Barnes experience as the focal point of the Toronto Raptors. And honestly, the Raptors are very blessed to be in this position where they can build their team around Scottie Barnes for the future, already having decent pieces around him in Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, and more to work with this season. It may not be the most exciting season. It may not be the most wins for the Raptors this season, but it should be enticing to see how far Scottie Barnes can go and if he can really vault himself upwards in this conversation. Maybe leapfrog Jimmy Butler, who could be stuttering a bit in his career. Maybe leapfrog Paul George on this list, who's going to have a more subdued role with the Philadelphia 76ers compared to the Los Angeles Clippers. Maybe leapfrog Kawhi Leonard if he still deals with injuries this season. And perhaps Kevin Durant, LeBron James aging. Scottie Barnes could really put himself in a position to be one of the very best small forwards in the NBA by the end of next season. If he can do so at the start of his rookie max contract, then we're in an even better position that already is a great position with Scottie Barnes on the team. But just how far can he go? Where do you think Scottie Barnes ranks on the list currently? And where do you think he will rank on this small forward list at the end of the season? Give me all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that's all for me for today. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe to Amateur Sports for more Raptors content just like this. And I will see you again next time for another video.